Have you ever said something in anger and regretted it minutes later? Have you ever allowed stress, criticism, or frustration to control your actions, only to realize it made the situation worse? If so, you are not alone. Most people do not struggle because life is difficult. They struggle because they react before they think. What if you could stay calm when others lose control? What if pressure no longer decided your behavior? What if one simple skill could help you make better decisions, protect your relationships, and create greater peace in your daily life? In this audiobook, you will discover practical ways to understand your emotions, strengthen self-control, handle criticism, communicate calmly, and build lasting emotional resilience. These are real-life lessons you can apply immediately. Stay until the end, because the ideas you are about to hear could change how you respond to every challenge, conversation, and opportunity for the rest of your life. Chapter 1. Master your pause. Emotions take control. Most people believe their biggest problem is anger. Others think it is stress, frustration, anxiety, impatience, or disappointment. But beneath all of these emotions sits a single habit that quietly creates problems in every area of life. That habit is reacting too quickly. A harsh comment appears on a screen, and a reply is sent within seconds. Someone criticizes your work, and defensiveness rises immediately. A family member says something hurtful, and anger takes over before understanding has a chance to speak. A setback appears, and discouragement arrives before perspective can enter the room. Many of life's regrets are not created by careful decisions. They are created by emotional reactions. The ability to pause before reacting is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop. It does not require wealth. It does not require talent. It does not require a special background. It is available to anyone willing to practice it. The pause is small. Sometimes it lasts only a few seconds. Yet those few seconds can completely change the direction of a conversation, a relationship, a career, or even an entire life. Think about a moment when you said something you later wished you had not said. Think about a decision made in anger. Think about a message sent while frustrated. Think about an argument that became bigger than it needed to be. In many of those situations, the problem was not the emotion itself. The problem was acting before the emotion settled. Emotions are not enemies. They are signals. Anger may signal that a boundary feels threatened. Fear may signal uncertainty. Sadness may signal loss. Frustration may signal unmet expectations. The problem begins when emotions become drivers instead of messengers. A messenger delivers information. A driver takes control of the vehicle. When emotions become drivers, they push people toward actions they later regret. They encourage words that damage trust. They create choices that feel right in the moment but painful afterward. The strongest people are not those who never feel emotional. The strongest people are those who can feel deeply without surrendering control. This is where the pause becomes important. A pause creates space between what happens and what you choose to do about it. Without that space, life becomes automatic. Every criticism creates anger. Every inconvenience creates frustration. Every disagreement creates conflict. Every setback creates discouragement. With that space, something different happens. You begin to respond instead of react. The difference may seem small, but it changes everything. A reaction is automatic. A response is intentional. A reaction is driven by emotion. A response is guided by values. A reaction seeks immediate relief. A response seeks long-term results. Imagine receiving a message that feels disrespectful. Your first impulse may be to respond immediately. Your mind starts building arguments. Your emotions begin preparing for battle. Now imagine doing something different. You read the message. You notice the emotional surge. You put the phone down. You take a few slow breaths. You wait 10 minutes before replying. The situation has not changed. The other person has not changed. The message has not changed. But you have changed. The emotional storm that seemed overwhelming a few minutes ago begins to lose strength. The urge to attack becomes smaller. The need to prove yourself becomes less intense. Suddenly you can see the situation more clearly. This clarity is the reward of the pause. Many people spend years trying to control other people. They try to control opinions, circumstances, outcomes, and events. Yet the most valuable form of control is self-control. You cannot stop people from being rude. You cannot stop people from being unfair. You cannot stop unexpected problems from appearing. You cannot stop disappointment from visiting your life, but you can learn to control how you respond. That ability creates a kind of freedom that external success alone cannot provide. A person who controls their emotions remains steady when others lose composure. A person who controls their emotions thinks clearly when others panic. A person who controls their emotions protects their peace when others create chaos. This does not happen overnight. The pause is a skill. Like any skill, it becomes stronger through repetition. One useful practice is learning to notice physical signals before emotions take control. The body often speaks before the mind understands what is happening. Your jaw tightens, your shoulders tense. Your breathing becomes shallow, your heart beats faster, your face becomes warm, your hands become restless. These signals are early warnings. Most people ignore them. They continue moving toward reaction without realizing they are losing control. A wiser approach is to use these signals as reminders. The moment you notice tension, pause. The moment you notice irritation, pause. The moment you notice anger rising, pause. The pause does not mean weakness. Many people confuse emotional restraint with weakness because they believe strength means immediate action. Real strength often looks different. Real strength is remaining calm when anger demands expression. Real strength is remaining patient when frustration demands action. Real strength is remaining disciplined when emotion demands control. There will be moments when people misunderstand your calmness. Some may think you have nothing to say. Others may assume you do not care. But emotional control is not silence. It is choosing the right moment and the right way to act. A wise person can speak firmly without losing control. A wise person can disagree without becoming hostile. A wise person can defend a position without becoming emotional. The goal is not to become passive. The goal is to become intentional. Consider how many problems grow because people react too quickly. A disagreement becomes a damaged relationship. A criticism becomes resentment. A mistake becomes shame. A challenge becomes panic. Often the original problem is manageable. The emotional reaction creates the real damage. This is why the pause deserves daily practice. Start with small situations. When traffic slows down, pause. When someone interrupts you, pause. When plans change unexpectedly, pause. When an email creates frustration, pause. These moments may seem insignificant, but they provide valuable training. Nobody becomes emotionally disciplined during major challenges without first practicing during minor ones. The small moments prepare you for the difficult moments. Imagine emotional control as a muscle. A muscle grows through repeated use. Each time you pause instead of reacting, that muscle becomes stronger. Each time you choose patience over impulse, that muscle becomes stronger. Each time you remain calm under pressure, that muscle becomes stronger. Over time, situations that once controlled you begin losing their power. People often believe peace comes from having a perfect life. They believe peace will arrive when problems disappear, finances improve, relationships become easier, and circumstances become ideal. But life rarely works that way. New challenges always appear. New disappointments always arrive. New uncertainties always emerge. Peace does not come from controlling every circumstance. Peace comes from controlling yourself within those circumstances. This truth becomes especially important during difficult seasons. There will be days when things do not go according to plan. There will be moments when people disappoint you. There will be situations that feel unfair. During those moments, remember a simple question. What outcome do I want from this situation? That question creates distance between emotion and action. Instead of asking what feels satisfying right now, you begin asking what serves you best in the long run. The answer is often very different. Immediate anger may feel satisfying. Long-term wisdom is usually more valuable. Immediate revenge may feel satisfying. Long-term peace is usually more valuable. Immediate reaction may feel powerful. Long-term self-control is usually more powerful. One of the greatest benefits of mastering the pause is clarity. Strong emotions narrow perspective. They make everything feel urgent. They convince you that action must happen immediately. The pause allows perspective to return. It allows facts to separate from feelings. It allows understanding to replace assumptions. It allows wisdom to enter the conversation. Sometimes you will discover that the situation is not as serious as it first appeared. Sometimes you will realize that another person did not intend harm. Sometimes you will see your own mistakes more clearly. Sometimes you will recognize that no response is necessary at all. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every criticism deserves your defense. Not every conflict deserves your participation. Learning when not to react is one of the highest forms of emotional intelligence. Every time you refuse to be controlled by impulse, you strengthen your character. Character is built through choices, not dramatic choices made once a year. Small choices made every day. The choice to remain calm, the choice to think before speaking, the choice to breathe before acting, the choice to understand before judging, the choice to respond instead of react. These choices may seem invisible to others, but they slowly transform the person you become. Months from now, you may notice that situations which once ruined your day no longer affect you as deeply. Arguments may lose their attraction. Criticism may lose its power. Stress may lose its grip. You will not become emotionless. You will become emotionally stronger. There is an important difference. Emotionless people disconnect from life. Emotionally strong people engage with life while maintaining self-control. The goal is not to suppress emotions. The goal is to lead them. Think of yourself as the leader of your inner world. Emotions can provide information, but they should not make decisions. Feelings can offer signals, but they should not determine direction. Wisdom must remain in charge. Every day presents opportunities to practice. Every conversation presents opportunities to practice. Every challenge presents opportunities to practice. The next time anger appears, pause. The next time frustration appears, pause. The next time disappointment appears, pause. Take a breath. Observe the emotion. Allow it to exist without immediately acting upon it. Ask yourself what response aligns with the person you want to become. Then act from that place. That simple process may not seem dramatic, yet it contains extraordinary power. Lives are changed one decision at a time. Relationships are strengthened one response at a time. Character is built one pause at a time. The person who masters the pause gains something more valuable than temporary emotional relief. They gain ownership of themselves. And when you truly own yourself, the world loses much of its ability to control you. That is the beginning of emotional mastery. That is the beginning of inner strength. That is the beginning of lasting freedom. Chapter 2. Recognize emotional triggers and respond with awareness. Every person wants greater control over emotions, yet many people spend years fighting reactions without understanding where those reactions begin. They focus on managing anger after it appears. They try to calm anxiety after it takes hold. They attempt to repair damage after words have already been spoken. The real opportunity for growth exists much earlier. Before every emotional reaction, there is usually a trigger. A trigger is not the emotion itself. A trigger is the event, situation, memory, thought, or experience that activates an emotional response inside you. Many people move through life without noticing this process. Something happens. An emotion appears. A reaction follows. The entire sequence feels automatic. Because it feels automatic, people often believe they have no control over it. The truth is different. The more aware you become of your triggers, the more influence you gain over your emotional life. Awareness creates choice. Without awareness, old patterns continue to repeat themselves. The same situations create the same reactions. The same frustrations return again and again. The same emotional wounds continue affecting decisions long after the original event has passed. A person may become irritated whenever they feel ignored. Another may become defensive whenever they receive feedback. Someone else may become anxious whenever uncertainty appears. These reactions often seem connected only to the present moment, but many emotional responses are connected to deeper experiences, expectations, and beliefs. This is why self-observation is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Instead of asking, "Why am I feeling this way?" After emotions become overwhelming, begin asking, "What happened just before this feeling appeared?" That simple question can reveal important information. Imagine someone arrives late for a meeting. One person notices the delay and remains calm. Another becomes frustrated immediately. The event is the same, yet the emotional responses are completely different. The difference is often found in personal interpretation. Perhaps punctuality represents respect to one person. Perhaps previous disappointments make them sensitive to delays. Perhaps they already feel overwhelmed, and the late arrival becomes the final source of frustration in an already difficult day. The trigger is rarely just the event itself. It is often the meaning attached to the event. Understanding this changes everything. Many emotional struggles are not caused by circumstances alone. They are influenced by the stories people tell themselves about those circumstances. When someone disagrees with you, does your mind interpret it as a personal attack? When a mistake occurs, do you immediately view it as proof of failure? When plans change unexpectedly, do you assume everything is going wrong? The interpretation shapes the emotional experience. This realization is powerful because interpretations can be examined. They can be questioned. They can be adjusted. The first practical step toward greater emotional awareness is slowing down enough to notice patterns. For the next few days, pay close attention to moments that create strong emotional responses. Do not judge yourself. Do not criticize yourself. Simply observe. Notice situations that create irritation. Notice situations that create fear. Notice situations that create disappointment. Notice situations that create insecurity. Become a student of your own mind. Imagine carrying a small notebook or using a notes application on your phone. Whenever a strong emotional response appears, write down 3 things. What happened? What emotion appeared? What thought entered your mind? Over time, patterns begin to emerge. You may discover that criticism affects you more than expected. You may realize that certain people consistently trigger frustration. You may notice that stress increases whenever you feel a lack of control. These observations provide valuable insight. Many people know the names of cities they have never visited. They know details about celebrities they have never met. They know information about events that do not affect their lives. Yet they know very little about the patterns operating inside their own minds. Self-awareness creates a foundation for emotional strength. Another important lesson is understanding that triggers are not enemies. Many people become frustrated when they discover emotional sensitivities within themselves. They believe awareness means weakness. In reality, awareness is the beginning of growth. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. A trigger simply reveals an area that deserves attention. Imagine a person who becomes defensive whenever mistakes are discussed. At first glance, the trigger may seem like criticism. Upon deeper examination, they may discover a strong fear of failure. That discovery creates an opportunity. Instead of constantly fighting defensiveness, they can work directly on their relationship with mistakes and personal expectations. Growth becomes more effective when the true source of the problem is understood. This process requires honesty, not the kind of honesty used when speaking to others. The kind of honesty used when speaking to yourself. Many emotional reactions are supported by hidden assumptions. Perhaps you believe everyone must approve of you. Perhaps you believe mistakes should never happen. Perhaps you believe life should always be fair. These assumptions often remain unnoticed until circumstances challenge them. When expectations collide with reality, emotions often follow. A wiser approach is learning to examine expectations carefully. Ask yourself simple questions. Is this expectation realistic? Is this belief helping me? Is this interpretation accurate? Could there be another explanation? These questions create mental flexibility. Mental flexibility reduces emotional suffering. Rigid thinking creates unnecessary pressure because reality rarely follows perfect plans. Flexible thinking allows adaptation. A person with emotional awareness understands that discomfort is not always a sign of danger. Many people react strongly because they mistake discomfort for a threat. A difficult conversation feels uncomfortable. Receiving feedback feels uncomfortable. Trying something new feels uncomfortable. Waiting for results feels uncomfortable. Yet discomfort often accompanies growth. Recognizing this helps prevent unnecessary emotional reactions. Instead of escaping every uncomfortable feeling, learn to sit with it for a moment. Notice it. Study it. Allow it to exist without immediately trying to eliminate it. Many emotions become less intense when they are acknowledged rather than resisted. Another useful practice involves separating facts from assumptions. Imagine receiving a short message from someone you know. The message feels distant. Immediately, your mind begins creating explanations. Maybe they are upset. Maybe they are disappointed. Maybe they no longer value the relationship. Hours later, you discover they were simply busy. The emotional reaction was not caused by facts. It was caused by assumptions. This happens frequently. The human mind naturally fills gaps in information. Unfortunately, those assumptions are often negative. Awareness means recognizing when assumptions are influencing emotions. Whenever strong feelings arise, ask yourself a simple question. What facts do I actually know? This question often reduces unnecessary stress. One of the greatest advantages of emotional awareness is improved relationships. Many conflicts occur because people react to interpretations instead of reality. They assume intentions, they jump to conclusions, they defend themselves against threats that do not exist. Awareness creates space for curiosity. Instead of assuming, you begin asking questions. Instead of attacking, you seek understanding. Instead of escalating tension, you create opportunities for connection. Strong relationships are rarely built through perfect communication. They are built through thoughtful communication. Thoughtful communication begins with awareness. Awareness also helps during moments of pressure. When challenges appear, emotions naturally become stronger. Deadlines approach. Problems emerge. Unexpected obstacles arrive. During these moments, emotional awareness acts like an anchor. It reminds you to pay attention to your internal state before making important decisions. Many poor decisions are not caused by lack of intelligence. They are caused by temporary emotional states. A tired mind sees problems differently than a rested mind. An angry mind sees situations differently than a calm mind. An anxious mind sees risks differently than a balanced mind. Awareness helps you recognize these influences before they control your choices. As emotional awareness grows, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop feeling surprised by your reactions. You begin understanding them. Understanding creates confidence. You no longer feel like a victim of unpredictable emotions. You become an active participant in your emotional development. This journey requires patience. Patterns formed over many years do not disappear instantly. There will be moments when old habits return. There will be situations where emotions feel stronger than expected. That is normal. Progress is not measured by perfection. Progress is measured by increased awareness. Each time you recognize a trigger more quickly, progress is happening. Each time you understand an emotion more clearly, progress is happening. Each time you choose awareness instead of automatic reaction, progress is happening. Over time, this practice changes how you experience life. Situations that once controlled your mood begin losing influence. Challenges become easier to navigate. Conversations become more thoughtful. Decisions become more balanced. Relationships become healthier. The goal is not to eliminate emotions. The goal is to understand them. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become conscious. A person who understands emotional triggers gains access to something extremely valuable. They gain the ability to respond with intention rather than habit. And every meaningful transformation begins at that point. When awareness increases, emotional freedom follows. When emotional freedom grows, self-mastery becomes possible. And when self-mastery becomes possible, a person gains the ability to create a calmer, stronger, and more purposeful life, regardless of what happens around them. Chapter 3. Strengthen self-control through daily conscious practice. Many people admire self-control, but very few understand how it is actually built. They imagine it as a personality trait that some people are born with and others are not. They look at disciplined individuals and assume those people simply possess a special kind of mental strength. What they do not see are the thousands of small decisions made behind the scenes. Self-control is not something a person suddenly discovers one morning. It is something developed through consistent practice. It grows the same way physical strength grows. It develops through repetition. It becomes stronger through use. Every moment of conscious choice contributes to its development. The challenge is that modern life constantly encourages impulsive behavior. Everything around you is designed to capture attention immediately. Notifications appear without warning. Opinions are shared instantly. Entertainment is available at every moment. Distractions compete for your focus. From the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, in such an environment, self-control becomes one of the most valuable skills a person can possess. The ability to direct your thoughts instead of being controlled by them creates a powerful advantage. The ability to stay committed to important goals despite temporary feelings creates progress. The ability to choose actions based on principles rather than moods creates stability. Many people wait until they feel motivated before taking action. They tell themselves they will begin exercising when they feel inspired. They will save money when circumstances improve. They will work on their goals when energy returns. The problem with this approach is that emotions are constantly changing. Some days motivation feels strong, other days it feels completely absent. If your actions depend entirely on feelings, your progress will always remain inconsistent. Self-control teaches a different lesson. It teaches that important actions should be guided by commitment rather than emotion. A person who develops this skill learns to do what needs to be done whether they feel excited about it or not. This does not mean becoming harsh with yourself. It means becoming reliable. Reliability is one of the most overlooked forms of strength. When you become reliable, you stop negotiating with every temporary feeling. You make decisions based on what matters most rather than what feels easiest. Consider something simple. Imagine your alarm sounds early in the morning. Part of your mind encourages you to stay in bed. The room feels comfortable. Sleep feels attractive. The day ahead feels demanding. At that moment, self-control is not about winning a dramatic battle. It is about making a small choice aligned with your long-term goals. One decision may seem insignificant, yet hundreds of similar decisions shape the direction of a life. Character is built through ordinary moments. Most people expect transformation to come from major events. They imagine one conversation, one breakthrough, one opportunity, or one achievement changing everything. In reality, lasting change is usually created through repeated daily actions. The person who practices discipline in small situations prepares themselves for larger challenges. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, trust grows. Every time you follow through on a commitment, confidence grows. Every time you act according to your values, integrity grows. These gains may not be immediately visible, but they accumulate over time. Many people underestimate the importance of daily routines. They focus only on outcomes. They think about success, achievement, recognition, or results. Yet results are usually reflections of habits. Your daily behaviors create your future experiences. This is why conscious practice matters. Conscious practice means acting with awareness. It means paying attention to the choices you make throughout the day. Many actions occur automatically. People check their phones without thinking. They consume information without intention. They complain without noticing. They procrastinate without questioning why. Conscious practice interrupts this automatic pattern. It encourages reflection. Instead of asking what feels convenient, you begin asking what serves your growth. That simple shift creates powerful changes. A useful exercise involves creating intentional pauses throughout the day. Not emotional pauses as discussed earlier, but awareness pauses. Several times each day, stop for a moment and ask yourself a few questions. What am I focusing on right now? Is this helping me move toward my goals? Am I acting intentionally or automatically? These questions create awareness. Awareness creates better choices. Better choices create better outcomes. Many people spend years searching for complex solutions while ignoring simple practices that could transform their lives. One such practice is learning to delay gratification. The ability to postpone immediate pleasure for future benefit is closely connected to self-control. Imagine receiving money unexpectedly. One person spends it immediately. Another saves part of it for future opportunities. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is discipline. Imagine studying for an important exam. One person chooses entertainment whenever concentration becomes difficult. Another remains focused despite temporary discomfort. Again, the difference is not talent. The difference is self-control. Learning to tolerate short-term discomfort often leads to long-term rewards. This principle applies to nearly every area of life. Health improves through consistent choices. Relationships improve through consistent effort. Financial stability improves through consistent discipline. Personal growth improves through consistent practice. None of these outcomes depend entirely on motivation. They depend on behavior repeated over time. Another important aspect of self-control involves managing attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Where attention goes, energy follows. Where energy goes, results follow. Many people allow their attention to be controlled by external forces. News headlines determine their mood. Social media determines their focus. Other people's opinions determine their confidence. A person developing self-control learns to direct attention deliberately. They become selective about what enters their mind. They recognize that mental inputs influence emotional states. They understand that constant exposure to negativity affects thinking. They understand that endless distraction weakens concentration. Because of this awareness, they choose carefully. They consume information with intention. They protect their focus. They create environments that support their goals. This is not about perfection. No one maintains perfect discipline every day. Everyone experiences setbacks. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone occasionally chooses convenience over growth. The important difference lies in how those moments are handled. People with strong self-control do not waste energy criticizing themselves endlessly. They learn from mistakes and return to their commitments quickly. They understand that consistency matters more than perfection. One missed workout does not ruin health. One difficult day does not ruin progress. One mistake does not define character. What matters is returning to the path. The ability to recover quickly is itself a form of discipline. Many people abandon goals because they expect flawless performance. The moment they make an error, they become discouraged. They interpret temporary setbacks as permanent failures. A wiser approach recognizes that growth includes challenges. Improvement includes mistakes. Development includes discomfort. Progress is rarely a straight line. There will be days when discipline feels natural. There will be days when it feels difficult. Continue anyway. The purpose of practice is not to eliminate difficulty. The purpose of practice is to strengthen your ability to act effectively despite difficulty. This distinction changes everything. Waiting for ideal circumstances creates delays. Learning to move forward under imperfect conditions creates momentum. Another valuable exercise involves keeping small promises. Large goals can feel overwhelming. Small promises create manageable opportunities for success. But bossing yourself that you will read a few pages. Bossing yourself that you will take a short walk. Promise yourself that you will spend 10 focused minutes working on an important task. Then keep that promise. The size of the action matters less than the consistency of the behavior. Each completed promise reinforces self-respect. Over time, self-respect becomes a powerful source of motivation. People often search for confidence without realizing. Confidence is frequently built through evidence. When you repeatedly demonstrate reliability to yourself, confidence grows naturally. You begin trusting your ability to follow through. You begin believing in your capacity for growth. You begin seeing yourself differently. This internal shift influences every area of life. The disciplined person is not someone who never struggles. The disciplined person is someone who continues acting wisely despite struggles. They understand that emotions change, circumstances change, challenges change, yet principles remain steady. When life becomes uncertain, principles provide direction. When distractions multiply, principles provide focus. When motivation disappears, principles provide stability. This is why self-control is not merely about resisting temptation. It is about creating alignment between your actions and your values. The more closely your behavior reflects your principles, the stronger your character becomes. Character is built one decision at a time, not through dramatic speeches, not through impressive intentions, not through wishes or plans alone. Character grows through action. Every conscious choice strengthens it. Every disciplined response strengthens it. Every moment of follow-through strengthens it. As weeks become months and months become years, the effects become impossible to ignore. Goals that once seemed distant become achievable. Challenges that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Temptations that once controlled behavior lose influence, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. The person you are becoming is shaped by what you repeatedly practice. Practice patience and patience grows. Practice discipline and discipline grows. Practice focus and focus grows. Practice responsibility and responsibility grows. The mind adapts to what it does consistently. This is why daily conscious practice matters so deeply. Every day offers opportunities to strengthen self-control. Every decision provides a chance to reinforce discipline. Every challenge presents an opportunity to develop character. The process may appear slow. Results may not arrive immediately. Others may not notice the changes at first. Continue anyway. Some of the most important growth happens quietly. It happens in moments when no one is watching. It happens when you choose what is right instead of what is easy. It happens when you remain committed despite temporary discomfort. It happens when your actions reflect your highest values rather than your lowest impulses. Those moments build the foundation of a strong life. And the person who commits to daily conscious practice gradually discovers a powerful truth. Self-control is not a limitation. It is a source of freedom. The more control you gain over your choices, the less control circumstances gain over you. And that freedom becomes one of the greatest rewards of personal growth. Chapter 4. Replace impulsive reactions with thoughtful, calm decisions. One of the greatest differences between a difficult life and a peaceful life is not intelligence, education, talent, or luck. It is the quality of decisions made during emotional moments. Many people spend years trying to improve their circumstances while ignoring the process that creates most of their problems. They focus on changing jobs, changing environments, changing relationships, or changing routines, yet they continue carrying the same decision-making habits wherever they go. As a result, the same patterns keep appearing, the same arguments happen with different people, the same frustrations emerge in different situations, the same regrets return in different forms. The circumstances change, but the reactions remain the same. This happens because impulsive behavior often operates beneath conscious awareness. An impulse is an urge to act immediately without carefully considering consequences. It seeks instant satisfaction, instant relief, or instant expression. It values the present moment more than the future outcome. Impulses are not always harmful. They can encourage creativity, spontaneity, and enthusiasm. The problem arises when important decisions are handed over to temporary emotional states. An emotional moment rarely sees the entire picture. When frustration is present, small problems can appear much larger than they really are. When excitement takes over, risks can appear smaller than they actually are. When fear dominates attention, opportunities can seem more dangerous than they truly are. Strong emotions distort perspective. This is why thoughtful decision-making becomes such a valuable skill. Thoughtful decisions are not slow because of hesitation. They are deliberate because of wisdom. They consider consequences. They examine alternatives. They account for long-term effects. They are guided by values instead of temporary feelings. Imagine a person receiving criticism at work. An impulsive response might involve arguing immediately, becoming defensive, or attacking the other person's credibility. A thoughtful response begins differently. Instead of focusing on protecting pride, attention shifts toward understanding the situation. Questions replace assumptions. Curiosity replaces defensiveness. Learning becomes more important than winning. This shift changes outcomes dramatically. The same principle applies in personal relationships. Many conflicts become painful because people respond to discomfort before understanding the situation. Words are spoken during moments of anger. Messages are sent during moments of resentment. Decisions are made during moments of disappointment. Later, when emotions settle, regret often follows. A thoughtful decision creates space for reflection before action. Reflection does not eliminate emotions. It simply prevents emotions from becoming the sole authority. One useful habit is learning to ask better questions during difficult situations. The quality of your decisions is often influenced by the quality of your questions. When something upsetting happens, many people automatically ask questions that increase emotional intensity. Why does this always happen to me? Why are people so difficult? Why can't things ever go my way? These questions rarely produce useful answers. They often reinforce frustration and helplessness. A more productive approach involves asking questions that encourage perspective. What is the most effective response right now? What outcome do I want from this situation? What can I learn from this experience? What decision will I respect tomorrow? These questions shift attention away from emotion and toward wisdom. They encourage problem-solving instead of emotional escalation. Another important lesson involves understanding the difference between urgency and importance. Impulsive reactions often create a false sense of urgency. Everything feels immediate. Everything feels critical. Everything feels like it requires an instant response. Yet many situations improve when given time. A disappointing message does not always require an immediate reply. A difficult conversation does not always need to happen at the peak of frustration. A major decision does not always need to be made on the same day the problem appears. Time creates perspective. Perspective improves judgment. Judgment improves outcomes. Many wise people have developed a simple rule for important decisions. They avoid making significant choices during emotional extremes. They do not make major commitments when excitement is overwhelming. They do not make major changes when anger is intense. They do not make life-altering decisions during moments of panic. Instead, they wait until emotional balance returns. This practice protects them from unnecessary mistakes. The ability to remain steady during uncertainty is another important aspect of thoughtful decision-making. Many impulsive choices are driven by discomfort. People often act quickly because uncertainty feels unpleasant. They want immediate answers. They want immediate solutions. They want immediate certainty. Life rarely provides certainty on demand. Some situations require patience. Some challenges require observation. Some opportunities require careful evaluation. The person who can tolerate uncertainty without rushing toward premature conclusions often makes better decisions. Patience is not passivity. Patience is disciplined observation. It allows facts to emerge before conclusions are formed. It allows understanding to develop before action is taken. This approach becomes especially valuable during stressful periods. Pressure naturally increases the desire for quick solutions. When problems appear, the mind searches for immediate relief. Unfortunately, immediate relief and long-term success are not always the same thing. A person facing financial difficulties may be tempted to make risky decisions. A person experiencing loneliness may enter unhealthy relationships. A person facing setbacks may abandon meaningful goals prematurely. In each case, the desire to escape discomfort can lead to choices that create greater problems later. Thoughtful decisions require courage because they often involve accepting temporary discomfort in exchange for better future outcomes. This is one reason self-respect grows when thoughtful decisions become habitual. Every wise choice sends a message to yourself. It says that your future matters. It says that your values matter. It says that your long-term well-being deserves protection. Over time, these messages strengthen character. Character is revealed most clearly during moments of difficulty. Anyone can appear disciplined when circumstances are favorable. Anyone can appear calm when life is predictable. The true test occurs when emotions become intense. The true test occurs when disappointment arrives. The true test occurs when pressure increases. Those moments reveal whether wisdom or impulse is leading your decisions. Fortunately, thoughtful decision-making can be practiced every day. It does not require dramatic situations. Small daily choices provide valuable training. Imagine standing in a store considering an unnecessary purchase. Notice the urge. Pause before acting. Evaluate whether the purchase aligns with your priorities. Imagine feeling tempted to procrastinate on an important responsibility. Observe the temptation. Consider the consequences. Choose intentionally. Imagine hearing information that provokes a strong opinion. Instead of reacting immediately, spend time examining the facts. Consider different perspectives that seek understanding before judgment. These small exercises strengthen mental discipline. They teach the mind that immediate action is not always necessary. They develop confidence in your ability to choose deliberately. Many people mistakenly believe freedom means doing whatever feels good in the moment. Real freedom is something different. Real freedom is the ability to act according to reason, even when emotions suggest another path. A person controlled by impulses is not truly free. Their behavior is determined by temporary urges. Their decisions are influenced by changing moods. Their direction shifts according to circumstances. A person guided by thoughtful judgment possesses a deeper form of freedom. They choose their actions consciously. They remain connected to their values. They are less vulnerable to emotional turbulence. This stability creates trust. Others begin viewing them as dependable. They become known for balanced decisions. They become known for thoughtful communication. They become known for responding wisely during difficult situations. These qualities strengthen relationships, careers, and personal growth. Another powerful practice involves mentally projecting yourself into the future. Whenever faced with an important choice, imagine looking back on the decision 1 month from now. Imagine looking back 1 year from now. Which choice would make you proud? Which choice would reflect your values? Which choice would contribute to the life you want to build? This perspective often reveals answers that emotional urgency hides. Temporary feelings lose some of their influence when viewed from a broader time horizon. Long-term thinking creates better decisions because it considers consequences beyond the present moment. The most respected leaders, the strongest individuals, and the wisest thinkers often share one common characteristic. They are not controlled by immediate emotional pressure. They evaluate, they consider, they reflect. Then they act. Their power comes not from speed but from clarity. Clarity emerges when emotions are acknowledged without being allowed to dominate. It emerges when facts are examined carefully. It emerges when principles guide behavior. This process is available to anyone willing to practice it. No special talent is required. No extraordinary intelligence is necessary. Only commitment and awareness. Each day presents opportunities to strengthen this ability. Every challenge becomes a training ground. Every disagreement becomes an opportunity to practice restraint. Every difficult decision becomes an opportunity to strengthen wisdom. The goal is not perfection. There will be moments when impulsive choices still occur. There will be situations where emotions temporarily gain control. Growth does not require flawless performance. Growth requires learning. It requires adjustment. It requires persistence. Each thoughtful decision strengthens the habit of thoughtful decision-making. Each deliberate action reinforces self-mastery. Each moment of reflection increases emotional intelligence. Over time, the difference becomes noticeable. Life feels less chaotic. Problems feel more manageable. Relationships become healthier. Confidence becomes more stable. This transformation does not happen because circumstances become easier. It happens because decision-making becomes wiser. And when wise decisions become a daily habit, emotional reactions gradually lose their power to control the direction of your life. Chapter 5. Build emotional resilience. During difficult life moments. Life does not test people when everything is comfortable. True emotional strength is revealed during seasons of uncertainty, disappointment, loss, failure, and unexpected change. Anyone can feel confident when circumstances are favorable. Anyone can remain positive when goals are being achieved and plans are unfolding smoothly. The real challenge begins when life moves in a direction you did not expect. Every person will face difficult moments. A goal may take longer than anticipated. A relationship may become strained. A trusted plan may fail. A career path may suddenly change. A loss may leave an empty space that cannot be filled quickly. These experiences are part of being human. The question is not whether challenges will arrive. The question is how you will respond when they do. Many people believe resilience means avoiding emotional pain. They imagine emotionally strong individuals never feel discouraged, hurt, disappointed, or overwhelmed. This belief creates unnecessary pressure because it is not true. Emotional resilience is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to move through struggle without losing yourself. It is the ability to remain grounded when circumstances become unstable. It is the ability to recover, adapt, and continue moving forward despite setbacks. A resilient person experiences difficult emotions just like everyone else. The difference lies in how they relate to those emotions. Instead of seeing pain as proof that something is wrong with them, they recognize it as part of life's natural process. Instead of allowing setbacks to define their identity, they view setbacks as experiences that can teach valuable lessons. Instead of becoming trapped by temporary hardship, they maintain perspective. Perspective is one of the most important components of resilience. Difficult moments often narrow attention. When problems appear, it becomes easy to focus entirely on what is going wrong. The mind begins collecting evidence that supports discouragement. One challenge becomes connected to another. One disappointment reminds you of previous disappointments. One setback creates fear about the future. Soon, the situation feels larger than it truly is. Perspective helps restore balance. It reminds you that one difficult chapter is not the entire story. It reminds you that temporary circumstances do not determine permanent outcomes. It reminds you that growth often occurs during periods that initially seem painful. Consider the people you admire most. Many of them developed strength through adversity rather than comfort. They learned patience through waiting. They learned courage through uncertainty. They learned perseverance through obstacles. The very experiences they once wished to avoid eventually became sources of wisdom. This does not mean hardship should be welcomed or celebrated. Pain is still painful. Loss is still loss. Disappointment still hurts. However, resilience allows you to move through these experiences without becoming permanently defeated by them. One of the most useful habits during difficult times is focusing on what remains within your control. When life becomes challenging, attention naturally drifts toward things that cannot be controlled. People worry about outcomes they cannot predict. They obsess over decisions made by others. They replay past events that cannot be changed. This often increases emotional exhaustion. A more effective approach involves shifting attention toward what can be influenced. You may not control the challenge itself. You may not control how quickly circumstances improve. You may not control the behavior of other people, but you can control your effort. You can control your attitude. You can control your daily actions. You can control the standards you choose to uphold. This shift creates a sense of stability during unstable periods. Even small actions become meaningful. Making your bed, completing important responsibilities, taking care of your health, keeping promises to yourself, maintaining routines. These actions may seem ordinary, but they reinforce a powerful message. They remind you that while circumstances may change, your commitment to yourself remains intact. Another important aspect of resilience is accepting reality without surrendering hope. Many people confuse acceptance with giving up. They believe acknowledging a difficult situation means approving of it. In truth, acceptance simply means seeing reality clearly. You cannot effectively respond to a challenge while denying its existence. Acceptance allows you to stop arguing with facts. It allows you to stop wasting energy, wishing the situation were different. Once reality is accepted, energy becomes available for constructive action. Hope then becomes more useful, not the kind of hope that waits passively for improvement. The kind of hope that inspires meaningful effort. Resilient people combine acceptance with action. They recognize what is happening. They acknowledge their feelings. Then they ask a powerful question. What is the next constructive step? Not the next perfect step. Not the entire solution. Just the next step. This question prevents overwhelm. Large problems often become manageable when broken into smaller actions. A person facing financial difficulties can focus on the next responsible decision. A person recovering from disappointment can focus on the next healthy habit. A person rebuilding confidence can focus on the next opportunity to grow. Progress often begins with simple actions repeated consistently. Resilience also requires patience. Healing rarely follows a predictable schedule. Growth does not always happen quickly. Some challenges take longer to overcome than expected. Many people become discouraged because they underestimate the time required for recovery. They expect immediate improvement. They expect emotional wounds to disappear rapidly. They expect confidence to return instantly. Real growth often unfolds gradually, like a tree growing beneath the surface before visible changes appear. Inner strength develops quietly, day by day, choice by choice, experience by experience. Patience allows this process to occur naturally. Another valuable lesson involves managing self-talk during difficult periods. The words you speak to yourself influence your emotional experience. Many people become their own harshest critics. When challenges arise, they respond with judgment. They call themselves weak. They call themselves failures. They focus exclusively on mistakes. This internal dialogue increases suffering. A wiser approach involves speaking to yourself with honesty and respect. Acknowledge difficulties without exaggerating them. Recognize mistakes without allowing them to define your identity. Encourage yourself the way you would encourage someone you care about deeply. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means creating an internal environment that supports growth rather than discouragement. The mind responds differently when treated with understanding instead of constant criticism. Supportive self-talk strengthens resilience. because it helps preserve confidence during challenging seasons. Konongji is another powerful source of emotional strength. Many people isolate themselves when life becomes difficult. They withdraw from conversations. They carry burdens silently. They convince themselves they must handle everything alone. While solitude can be valuable, complete isolation often increases emotional strain. Human beings benefit from meaningful connection, a trusted friend, a supportive family member, a mentor, a caring community. These relationships provide perspective and encouragement when challenges feel overwhelming. Seeking support is not weakness, it is wisdom. Strong people understand the value of shared strength. Another essential quality of resilience is adaptability. Life rarely follows a perfect plan. Unexpected events create detours. New information requires adjustments. Changing circumstances demand flexibility. People who resist every change often experience unnecessary frustration. Adaptable individuals approach change differently. They remain open to new possibilities. They adjust strategies when necessary. They focus on moving forward rather than clinging to outdated expectations. Adaptability transforms obstacles into opportunities for learning. It encourages creative problem-solving. It expands resilience by increasing confidence in your ability to handle uncertainty. One of the greatest mistakes people make during difficult times is assuming their current feelings will last forever. Emotions often create the illusion of permanence. A difficult day can feel endless. A setback can appear final. A disappointment can seem impossible to overcome. History repeatedly proves otherwise. Feelings change, circumstances evolve, new opportunities emerge. Strength develops, healing occurs. The future contains possibilities that cannot be fully seen during moments of struggle. Remembering this truth helps maintain hope. Resilience grows when you learn to trust your ability to endure temporary discomfort. Not because challenges are easy, not because pain disappears immediately, but because you recognize your capacity to continue. Every challenge you have already survived contains evidence of this capacity. There were moments in your past that once felt overwhelming, yet you moved through them. You learned, you adapted, you continued. Those experiences provide proof that strength already exists within you. The purpose of resilience is not to create an easy life. The purpose of resilience is to create a strong person capable of navigating life effectively. A resilient individual does not avoid difficulty. They meet difficulty with courage. They do not demand certainty before moving forward. They take meaningful action despite uncertainty. They do not measure themselves solely by outcomes. They measure themselves by effort, integrity, and growth. This mindset creates emotional stability that remains valuable regardless of external circumstances. Success becomes easier to handle. Failure becomes easier to survive. Change becomes easier to navigate. The storms of life still arrive, but they no longer have the power to completely disrupt your inner foundation. Over time, resilience becomes more than a skill. It becomes part of your character. It shapes how you think. It shapes how you respond. It shapes how you approach challenges. And when difficult moments inevitably appear, you no longer ask whether you are capable of handling them. You already know the answer. You trust your ability to adapt, recover, learn, and continue moving forward. That trust becomes one of the greatest sources of strength a person can possess, because resilience is not built during easy seasons. It is built through the decision to keep growing when life becomes difficult, and every time you make that decision, your emotional foundation becomes stronger than before. Chapter 6. Develop patience when facing pressure and criticism. Pressure has a unique way of revealing what is happening beneath the surface of a person's character. During calm periods, it is easy to appear composed. When responsibilities are manageable and circumstances are favorable, emotional balance often feels natural. The real challenge emerges when deadlines become demanding, expectations increase, problems appear unexpectedly, or criticism arrives from people whose opinions matter. These moments create discomfort because they challenge the desire for certainty, approval, and control. Pressure asks difficult questions. Can you remain focused when outcomes are unclear? Can you continue working when progress feels slow? Can you stay grounded when others doubt you? Can you maintain self-respect when criticism reaches your ears? The answers to these questions are closely connected to patience. Many people misunderstand patience. They view it as passive waiting. They imagine patience means doing nothing while circumstances unfold on their own. In reality, patience is an active form of strength. Patience allows a person to continue moving forward without demanding immediate results. Patience allows effort to continue even when rewards have not yet appeared. Patience allows emotional stability during periods that test endurance. It is one of the most valuable qualities a person can develop because many of life's most meaningful achievements require time. Growth requires time. Trust requires time. Mastery requires time. Recovery requires time. Yet modern culture encourages the opposite mindset. People are taught to expect immediate progress. They want quick solutions. They want instant improvement. They want fast recognition. When reality moves more slowly than expectations, frustration often follows. This frustration can lead to poor decisions. People abandon goals too early. They quit meaningful projects before results have a chance to appear. They lose confidence because progress does not match unrealistic timelines. Patience protects against these mistakes. It reminds you that worthwhile outcomes often develop gradually. Consider the process of learning a new skill. At first, improvement may feel almost invisible. Mistakes occur frequently. Progress seems slow. Results appear inconsistent. Someone without patience may become discouraged and stop. Someone with patience understands that competence is being developed even when obvious results are not yet visible. This perspective changes behavior. Instead of focusing only on immediate outcomes, attention shifts toward consistent effort. The patient person measures success differently. They focus on showing up. They focus on improvement. They focus on learning. They focus on daily progress. This approach creates long-term growth. Pressure becomes easier to manage when expectations are realistic. Many people create unnecessary stress by demanding perfection from themselves. They expect flawless performance. They expect continuous success. They expect every effort to produce immediate rewards. These expectations place a heavy burden on the mind. No human being performs perfectly all the time. Every person experiences setbacks. Every person encounters obstacles. Every person makes mistakes. Recognizing this reality reduces unnecessary pressure. It creates room for learning. It creates room for growth. It creates room for patience. Another challenge arises when criticism enters the picture. Very few experiences test emotional maturity as directly as criticism. Even confident individuals can feel uncomfortable when their actions, decisions, or character are questioned. Part of this discomfort comes from a natural desire to be understood and respected. When criticism appears, the mind often reacts quickly. Defensiveness emerges. Justifications appear. Arguments form. The desire to protect self-image becomes strong. While these reactions are understandable, they do not always lead to wise responses. Patience creates an alternative. Instead of responding immediately, it encourages observation. Instead of rushing to defend yourself, it encourages listening. Instead of focusing on proving someone wrong, It encourages understanding. This does not mean every criticism is valid, far from it. Some criticism is unfair, some criticism is inaccurate. Some criticism reflects another person's frustration rather than objective truth, yet even unfair criticism can be handled with wisdom. The patient person does not allow another individual's opinion to determine their emotional state. They evaluate feedback carefully. They separate useful information from unnecessary negativity. They remain open to learning without surrendering self-respect. This balance requires practice. One helpful approach is asking a simple question whenever criticism appears. Is there something valuable I can learn from this? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. Either way, the question shifts attention away from emotional reaction and toward thoughtful evaluation. When criticism contains useful insight, it becomes an opportunity for improvement. When criticism lacks merit, it becomes easier to release. Many people suffer because they treat every opinion as equally important. In reality, not every opinion deserves the same level of attention. The perspective of a trusted mentor carries different weight than random negativity from someone who does not understand your situation. The feedback of a respected expert carries different value than careless judgment from someone speaking without knowledge. Patience helps you evaluate criticism intelligently rather than emotionally. It allows you to consider the source. It allows you to examine the intention. It allows you to determine whether the information deserves action. This skill becomes especially important for anyone pursuing meaningful goals. The moment you begin doing something significant, criticism becomes unavoidable. People may question your choices. They may misunderstand your intentions. They may disagree with your direction. Waiting for universal approval is a losing strategy. No path receives support from everyone. No decision satisfies every person. No achievement escapes criticism entirely. Recognizing this truth creates freedom. You stop making decisions solely to avoid judgment. You begin focusing on alignment with your values. You begin measuring success by integrity rather than popularity. This shift strengthens patience because it reduces dependence on external validation. Pressure also appears in the form of uncertainty. Many people become impatient when outcomes remain unknown. They want guarantees before taking action. They want certainty before making commitments. They want complete clarity before moving forward. Life rarely offers such conditions. Meaningful opportunities often involve uncertainty. Important decisions often involve risk. Personal growth often requires stepping forward without knowing exactly how everything will unfold. Patience allows you to tolerate this uncertainty. It helps you continue acting responsibly while accepting that some questions cannot be answered immediately. This ability creates resilience. The impatient mind constantly demands resolution. The patient mind understands that some things reveal themselves over time. Relationships provide another opportunity to practice patience. Every meaningful relationship involves differences. People communicate differently. People think differently. People make mistakes. Expecting others to behave exactly as you prefer creates frustration. Patience allows room for human imperfection. It encourages understanding rather than constant judgment. It encourages listening rather than immediate conclusions. It encourages compassion without sacrificing healthy boundaries. This does not mean accepting harmful behavior. It means recognizing that growth often requires time. Just as you are learning and improving, others are navigating their own challenges. Patience creates healthier interactions because it reduces unnecessary conflict. Another powerful way to strengthen patience is through deliberate exposure to minor inconveniences. This may sound unusual, But small challenges provide valuable training, standing in a long line waiting for a response, experiencing a delay, encountering unexpected changes. These moments often trigger irritation because they interfere with personal plans. Instead of resisting every inconvenience, use these situations as opportunities. Practice remaining calm. Practice observing frustration without feeding it. Practice accepting circumstances that cannot be changed. These small exercises strengthen emotional endurance. They prepare you for larger challenges later. Patience grows through repetition. Like any skill, it becomes stronger when practiced consistently. Another important lesson involves separating effort from outcome. Many people become discouraged because they focus exclusively on results. When results arrive slowly, motivation decreases. Patience shifts attention toward the quality of effort. Did you act with integrity? Did you give your best effort? Did you remain committed to your values? These questions create a healthier foundation for growth. Outcomes are influenced by many factors. Effort remains within your control. The more attention you place on controllable actions, the more stable your emotional state becomes. One of the greatest rewards of patience is clarity. Rushed decisions often create confusion. Impulsive judgments often create mistakes. Time allows information to emerge. Time reveals patterns. Time exposes truths that are invisible in the moment. A patient person understands this. They do not feel compelled to react immediately to every challenge. They allow situations to unfold when appropriate. They trust the process of observation. This trust reduces anxiety because it eliminates the pressure to have every answer instantly. Over time, patience changes the way you experience life. Pressure becomes less intimidating. Criticism becomes less threatening. Delays become less frustrating. Uncertainty becomes more manageable. The external world may remain unpredictable, but your internal foundation becomes stronger. This strength is not loud. It does not seek attention. It does not demand recognition. It appears in calm responses. It appears in steady effort. It appears in thoughtful decisions. It appears in the ability to remain composed when circumstances test your resolve. The patient person understands something that many people overlook. Most valuable achievements require sustained effort over extended periods of time. Strong relationships are built gradually. Meaningful skills develop gradually. Trust develops gradually. Character develops gradually. Anything worth building deserves time. Anything worth becoming deserves commitment. And the person who learns to face pressure and criticism with patience gains an extraordinary advantage. They stop allowing temporary discomfort to dictate permanent decisions. They stop measuring progress solely by immediate results. They stop seeking approval from every voice around them. Instead, they continue moving forward with discipline, perspective, and quiet confidence. That quiet confidence becomes a source of strength during difficult seasons, because patience is not simply waiting. Patience is maintaining composure while growth is taking place. And when that quality becomes part of your character, very little can shake your inner stability. Chapter 7. Transform negative thoughts into constructive mental habits. Every person carries on an endless conversation within their own mind. From the moment they wake up until they fall asleep, thoughts move constantly through their awareness. Some thoughts encourage progress, some create doubt, some provide clarity, others create confusion. Whether people realize it or not, the quality of this inner conversation shapes the quality of their lives. Most external challenges are difficult enough on their own. The problem becomes far greater when negative thinking turns ordinary obstacles into emotional burdens. A setback becomes proof of failure. A mistake becomes evidence of inadequacy. A delay becomes a reason for discouragement. Over time, these patterns influence confidence, decision-making, relationships, and overall well-being. Many people attempt to improve their lives by changing circumstances while ignoring the habits operating inside their minds. They focus on changing jobs, changing environments, changing routines, or changing goals. Yet wherever they go, they bring their thinking patterns with them. This is why lasting growth begins internally. The way you think about experiences often influences you more than the experiences themselves. Two people can face the same challenge and reach very different conclusions. One person sees difficulty and assumes defeat. Another sees difficulty and searches for opportunity. One person interprets failure as evidence that they should quit. Another interprets failure as information that can guide future improvement. The event remains the same. The interpretation changes. The interpretation then influences behavior. Behavior influences results. This process occurs every day, often without conscious awareness. Negative thoughts are not unusual. Every human being experiences them. The goal is not to eliminate them completely. Such a goal would be unrealistic. The goal is to prevent them from becoming dominant habits that control your perception of reality. A thought is simply a mental event. It is not automatically a fact. It is not automatically accurate. It is not automatically useful. Many people treat every thought as truth. If their mind says they cannot succeed, they believe it. If their mind predicts failure, they accept it. If their mind generates doubt, they obey it. This creates unnecessary limitations. One of the most important skills a person can develop is learning to examine thoughts rather than automatically accepting them. Imagine a thought appears that says, "I am not capable of handling this challenge." Instead of immediately believing it, pause and investigate. What evidence supports this idea? What evidence contradicts it? Have there been difficult situations you successfully navigated in the past? What skills do you already possess that may help? This process creates distance between you and the thought. That distance is valuable because it reduces the influence of automatic negativity. Negative thinking often follows predictable patterns. Some people constantly focus on worst-case scenarios. Others magnify mistakes while ignoring successes. Some expect rejection before giving themselves a chance. Others compare themselves unfairly to people whose circumstances are completely different. These habits become so familiar that they begin to feel normal. Unfortunately, familiar does not always mean healthy. Constructive mental habits begin with awareness. You cannot change patterns you do not notice. Pay attention to recurring thoughts throughout the day. Notice what happens after setbacks. Notice what happens when goals become difficult. Notice what happens when criticism appears. Notice what happens when uncertainty enters your life. Observe the messages your mind repeatedly sends. Many people are surprised when they realize how often they speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another person. Imagine a close friend facing a difficult situation. Would you immediately tell them they are incapable? Would you remind them only of their mistakes? Would you predict failure before they even tried? Probably not. Yet many people communicate with themselves in exactly this manner. Constructive thinking does not require unrealistic positivity. It requires fairness. It requires balance. It requires honesty without unnecessary negativity. Instead of saying, "I always fail," acknowledge the reality. Perhaps you experienced a setback. That does not mean failure defines your identity. Instead of saying, "Nothing ever works out," examine the facts. Life likely contains examples of progress, success, learning and achievement alongside difficulties. Balanced thinking creates emotional stability because it reflects reality more accurately. Another important practice involves replacing judgment with observation. Judgment often creates emotional resistance. Observation creates understanding. Consider a situation where you procrastinate on an important task. A judgmental response might sound like this: "I am lazy. I have no discipline. I never follow through." These statements attack identity. They rarely inspire improvement. An observational response sounds different. "I delayed this task today. I became distracted. I need a better strategy." This approach focuses on behavior rather than character. Behavior can be adjusted. Identity-based criticism often creates discouragement. Constructive habits focus on solutions rather than self-condemnation. This shift may seem small, but its effects are significant. The way you interpret mistakes determines whether they become sources of growth or sources of frustration. Many successful individuals have experienced repeated setbacks. What separates them from others is not the absence of failure. It is their ability to learn from failure without becoming defined by it. Constructive thinkers ask useful questions. What can this experience teach me? What would I do differently next time? What skills need improvement? How can I use this information productively? These questions encourage growth. They transform obstacles into opportunities for learning. Another powerful habit involves directing attention toward what can be influenced. Negative thinking often becomes trapped in circumstances beyond personal control. People replay conversations that have already happened. They worry about outcomes that have not occurred. They become consumed by situations they cannot change. This pattern drains mental energy. A more productive approach involves focusing on actions available in the present moment. What can you do today? What responsibility can you fulfill right now? What improvement can you make immediately? Constructive thinking leads to constructive action. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence reinforces positive behavior. This cycle gradually replaces patterns of helplessness. The environment surrounding you also affects mental habits. The information you consume influences your thinking. The conversations you participate in influence your thinking. The people you spend time with influence your thinking. If negativity constantly surrounds you, maintaining a constructive mindset becomes more difficult. This does not mean avoiding reality. It means being intentional about what enters your mind. Choose information that educates and strengthens you. Spend time with people who encourage responsibility and growth. Eat environments that support your values. Mental habits are influenced by repeated exposure. Just as unhealthy food affects physical health, unhealthy mental inputs affect emotional health. Gratitude is another valuable practice that supports constructive thinking. Many people misunderstand gratitude. They assume it means ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. True gratitude is different. It involves recognizing what remains valuable even during challenging periods. Difficulties may exist. At the same time, positive aspects of life may still exist. Opportunities may still exist. Supportive relationships may still exist. Personal strengths may still exist. Gratitude expands awareness beyond immediate problems. It creates balance. It reminds the mind that reality contains more than frustration and disappointment. This broader perspective strengthens emotional resilience. Another essential habit involves managing comparisons. Comparison often creates unnecessary dissatisfaction. People compare their beginnings to someone else's achievements. They compare their private struggles to another person's public success. They compare current circumstances to unrealistic expectations. These comparisons distort perception. Every individual follows a unique path. Different experiences create different timelines. Different opportunities create different outcomes. Constructive thinking focuses on personal progress rather than constant comparison. The important question is not whether you are ahead of everyone else. The important question is whether you are growing. Growth creates fulfillment because it reflects movement toward your potential. Comparison often distracts from that process. One of the most effective ways to strengthen constructive mental habits is through repetition. Thought patterns become stronger through frequent use. A negative thought repeated daily becomes familiar. A constructive thought repeated daily becomes familiar as well. This is why consistency matters. Choose a few empowering principles and revisit them regularly. Remind yourself that challenges can be faced. Remind yourself that improvement is possible. Remind yourself that mistakes provide information. Remind yourself that effort creates progress. These reminders gradually influence how situations are interpreted. Over time, the mind begins responding differently to adversity. A problem appears and solutions are considered. A setback occurs and lessons are identified. A challenge emerges and capability is remembered. This transformation does not happen overnight. Mental habits develop through consistent practice. There will be days when negative thoughts feel stronger. There will be moments when discouragement returns. There will be situations that test your mindset. Continue practicing. The goal is not perfection. The goal is improvement. Every constructive thought weakens the influence of destructive patterns. Every balanced perspective strengthens emotional stability. Every intentional mental habit contributes to personal growth. Eventually, a remarkable change begins to occur. You stop viewing yourself as someone controlled by circumstances. You begin seeing yourself as someone capable of responding wisely to circumstances. This shift changes confidence. It changes behavior. It changes decision-making. It changes the direction of your life. The strongest minds are not those that never experience negative thoughts. The strongest minds are those that refuse to become servants to those thoughts. They examine them, they challenge them, they replace them when necessary. They cultivate habits that support growth, wisdom, and resilience, and through this daily practice, they create an inner environment that encourages strength even when life becomes difficult. Because the quality of your life is influenced greatly by the quality of your thinking. When constructive mental habits become part of your daily experience, you gain something extremely valuable. You gain the ability to guide your mind instead of being guided by it. That ability becomes one of the greatest sources of emotional freedom a person can possess. Chapter 8. Practice calm communication. During conflict and stress, few skills influence the quality of life more than communication. Every relationship, every opportunity, every partnership, and every meaningful connection is shaped by the way people exchange thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Yet communication becomes most difficult at the exact moments when it matters most. During conflict, pressure, disappointment, misunderstanding, or stress, people often say things they do not truly mean or fail to express what they genuinely need. Many problems that appear to be relationship problems are actually communication problems. People assume intentions without asking questions. They react to tone instead of listening to meaning. They focus on defending themselves rather than understanding the situation. As emotions intensify, clarity often disappears. This is why calm communication is not merely a social skill. It is an emotional discipline. The ability to communicate calmly during difficult situations protects relationships, reduces unnecessary conflict, and creates opportunities for solutions that emotional reactions often destroy. Most conflicts do not begin with a desire to create harm. They begin with different perspectives, different expectations, different priorities, different interpretations of events. When these differences are handled poorly, tension increases. When they are handled wisely, understanding becomes possible. One of the biggest obstacles to effective communication is the desire to be right. Many people enter conversations with a hidden objective. They want to prove something. They want to win. They want validation. They want acknowledgement. Because of this, they focus more on preparing responses than understanding what is being said. The conversation becomes a competition rather than an exchange. Calm communication requires a different mindset. Instead of asking, "How can I win this discussion?" ask, "How can I understand this situation more clearly?" This shift changes everything. Understanding creates opportunities for connection. Competition often creates distance. People rarely feel heard when someone is focused entirely on proving a point. One of the most valuable communication habits is learning to listen completely before responding. This sounds simple, yet many people struggle with it. While another person is speaking, their minds are already constructing arguments. They interrupt, they assume, they finish sentences. They become distracted by their own reactions. True listening requires attention. It requires presence. It requires setting aside the need to respond immediately. When people feel heard, they often become more willing to listen in return. Listening does not mean agreement. It means understanding. You can understand another person's perspective without adopting it as your own. You can acknowledge someone's feelings without surrendering your values. You can respect another person's experience while maintaining your own position. This distinction is important because many conflicts escalate when people confuse understanding with surrender. Calm communication also requires emotional responsibility. Many people unconsciously make others responsible for their emotional states. They blame, they accuse, they attack. Their language becomes focused on what others have done wrong. This approach often triggers defensiveness. Defensiveness reduces the likelihood of productive conversation. A more effective approach involves taking ownership of your experience. Instead of saying, "You never listen," try expressing what you are experiencing. "I feel unheard when conversations end before I can explain my perspective." Instead of attacking character, focus on describing the situation. This encourages dialogue rather than resistance. Words matter. The language you choose influences how your message is received. The same concern can be expressed in ways that create conflict or ways that encourage cooperation. Calm communication involves speaking with clarity rather than intensity. Volume does not strengthen a message. Hostility does not increase wisdom. Aggression does not improve understanding. A calm voice often carries greater influence because it reflects confidence rather than emotional instability. People tend to trust messages delivered with composure. Stress presents another challenge. When pressure increases, communication often becomes rushed. People become impatient. Assumptions multiply. Attention decreases. Misunderstandings become more common. During stressful periods, slowing down becomes especially important. Take time to choose words carefully. Take time to verify understanding. Take time to ask questions. A few extra moments of attention can prevent hours of unnecessary conflict. Questions are powerful tools during difficult conversations. Questions invite information. Questions encourage understanding. Questions reveal perspectives that assumptions often miss. Imagine someone behaves in a way that frustrates you. An immediate conclusion might create anger. A thoughtful question may reveal circumstances you never considered. Perhaps they are facing challenges you do not know about. Perhaps they misunderstood expectations. Perhaps important information is missing. Questions create opportunities for discovery. Assumptions often create confusion. Another important aspect of calm communication involves recognizing emotional escalation. Many conversations follow predictable patterns. Voices become louder. Interruptions increase. Patience decreases. Defensiveness grows. When these signs appear, awareness becomes essential. Continuing the conversation in a highly emotional state is rarely productive. Sometimes the wisest choice is creating temporary space, not to avoid the issue, not to ignore the problem, but to allow emotions to settle before continuing. A difficult conversation held calmly tomorrow is often more effective than an emotional conversation held immediately. This requires maturity. Many people fear that pausing means losing control of the discussion. In reality, strategic pauses often improve communication. They create room for reflection. They reduce emotional intensity. They increase the likelihood of constructive dialogue. Respect plays a critical role as well. Respect becomes most valuable when disagreement exists. Treating people respectfully when they agree with you requires little effort. Treating people respectfully when opinions differ demonstrates character. Respect does not require approval. Respect does not require agreement. Respect simply acknowledges the humanity of another person. People are more likely to consider your perspective when they feel respected. Hostility often causes individuals to protect their positions even more strongly. Respect creates openness. Another challenge appears when criticism is directed toward you. The natural impulse may be self-defense. The desire to explain every action can become overwhelming, yet immediate defensiveness often prevents learning. Calm communication creates space to evaluate feedback objectively. Perhaps part of the criticism contains useful information. Perhaps there is an opportunity for growth. Perhaps clarification is needed. Responding thoughtfully allows these possibilities to emerge. The goal is not protecting the ego. The goal is seeking truth. This mindset transforms communication. When truth becomes more important than pride, conversations become more productive. Conflict also becomes easier to manage when expectations are realistic. Disagreements are a natural part of life. Two people can care deeply about one another and still see situations differently. Two intelligent individuals can examine the same information and reach different conclusions. Expecting complete agreement in every situation creates frustration. Healthy communication focuses on understanding differences rather than eliminating them. Sometimes the objective is not agreement. Sometimes the objective is mutual respect. That alone can strengthen relationships significantly. Timing is another factor that many people overlook. A message delivered at the wrong moment may fail regardless of its quality. Someone who is exhausted, overwhelmed, or distracted may not be able to engage effectively. Choosing the right time for important discussions demonstrates wisdom. It increases the chances of meaningful communication. Patience and timing often work together. The strongest communicators understand when to speak and when to wait. Silence can also be valuable. Many people fear silence because they feel compelled to fill every moment with words. Yet silence often creates space for reflection. It allows people to process information. It allows emotions to settle. It allows important ideas to emerge naturally. Not every pause needs to be filled. Thoughtful silence often contributes more to a conversation than hurried speech. Another important practice involves focusing on the issue rather than attacking the person. When conflict arises, some individuals shift attention away from the problem and toward personal criticism. Past mistakes are brought into the discussion. Character is questioned. Unrelated grievances are introduced. This approach rarely solves anything. It usually creates additional tension. Effective communication remains focused. It addresses the specific issue at hand. It seeks solutions rather than victories. It aims for progress rather than punishment. One of the greatest benefits of calm communication is the preservation of relationships. Many relationships do not end because problems exist. They end because problems are handled poorly. Trust is damaged through careless words. Conking weakens through repeated hostility. Respect erodes through unnecessary conflict. Calm communication protects these valuable foundations. It allows people to work through challenges without destroying what matters most. This skill becomes increasingly important as responsibilities grow. Leadership requires communication. Pot crenting requires communication. Friendships require communication. Partnerships require communication. Professional success requires communication. In every area of life, the ability to remain composed while expressing thoughts clearly creates opportunities that emotional reactions often close. Developing this skill takes practice. There will be moments when frustration appears. There will be situations where emotions become intense. There will be conversations that test patience. Continue practicing. Notice your patterns. Refine your approach. Learn from mistakes. Each conversation becomes an opportunity for growth. Each disagreement becomes an opportunity to strengthen emotional discipline. Each stressful interaction becomes an opportunity to improve self-awareness. Over time, calm communication becomes more natural. You begin responding thoughtfully, even when pressure increases. You become less reactive to emotional tension. You become more effective at expressing yourself clearly. People begin trusting your words because they recognize your consistency. They recognize your balance. They recognize your ability to remain steady when circumstances become difficult. This steady presence becomes a source of strength, not only for you, but also for the people around you. Because calm communication is not simply about speaking. It is about creating understanding. It is about protecting relationships. It is about expressing truth with wisdom. And when this ability becomes part of your character, conflict loses much of its power to create unnecessary damage. Instead, it becomes an opportunity for learning, growth, and deeper connection. Chapter 9. Create daily routines that support emotional stability. Many people spend years searching for emotional stability while overlooking one of the most powerful tools available to them. They focus on dramatic breakthroughs, major life changes, or perfect circumstances. They believe peace of mind will arrive after a certain goal is achieved, after a problem is solved, or after life becomes easier. Yet emotional stability is rarely created by a single event. It is usually built through daily routines. The way you begin your day influences the way you experience your day. The habits you repeat shape your mental environment. The choices you make consistently affect your emotional strength more than occasional moments of inspiration. A person who wants greater emotional balance must stop thinking only about emotional reactions and begin thinking about emotional preparation. Most people prepare for work. They prepare for meetings. They prepare for important events. Very few prepare intentionally for their emotional well-being. As a result, they start each day reacting to circumstances instead of guiding themselves through them. Life becomes a series of responses to whatever happens next. A message arrives, a problem appears, a responsibility emerges, a disappointment occurs. The day unfolds without structure, and emotions are pulled in multiple directions. Daily routines create something valuable. They create stability before instability arrives. They create order before challenges appear. They create strength before strength is needed. This is why emotionally stable people often appear calm during situations that overwhelm others. They have not simply developed emotional skills during difficult moments. They have developed habits that support those skills every day. One of the most important routines begins in the morning. The first moments after waking up often influence the tone of the entire day. Many people begin their mornings by immediately exposing themselves to distractions. They reach for their phones. They check messages. They scroll through news. They consume information before taking a moment to gather their thoughts. This habit places the mind into a reactive state from the very beginning. A more intentional approach creates a different experience. Start the day with awareness. Take a few quiet moments before engaging with external demands. Allow yourself to wake up mentally before entering the noise of the world. This does not require a complicated routine. It requires presence. A few minutes of reflection can create a powerful foundation. Ask yourself simple questions. How do I want to show up today? What deserves my attention? What values will guide my actions? These questions encourage intentional living. They remind you that the day is not something that simply happens to you. It is something you actively participate in creating. Physical movement is another important contributor to emotional stability. The mind and body influence one another constantly. When physical energy is neglected, emotional resilience often suffers. Movement does not need to be extreme. A walk, stretching, exercise, any form of consistent physical activity can support emotional well-being. Movement helps release tension. It improves focus. It increases energy. It creates a sense of accomplishment. Many people underestimate how strongly physical habits influence emotional experiences. A tired body often contributes to a tired mind. An energized body often supports clearer thinking. Sleep deserves equal attention. Many emotional difficulties become more intense when rest is neglected. Irritation increases. Patience decreases. Concentration weakens. Small problems begin feeling larger than they actually are. A consistent sleep routine provides more than physical recovery. It supports emotional regulation. It strengthens decision-making. It improves mental clarity. Protecting sleep is not a luxury. It is an investment in emotional stability. Another important routine involves creating moments of stillness throughout the day. Modern life encourages constant stimulation. Notifications appear endlessly. Information arrives continuously. Attention becomes fragmented. Many people spend entire days without experiencing a single moment of genuine quiet. This constant stimulation can increase mental fatigue. Stillness provides balance. A few minutes of silence, a brief walk without distractions, time spent reflecting rather than consuming information. These moments allow the mind to reset. They create space for awareness. They reduce mental clutter. A calm mind often requires intentional periods of rest. Another valuable practice involves paying attention to mental inputs. The information you consume becomes part of your mental environment. Just as food affects physical health, information affects emotional health. If your attention is constantly directed toward conflict, outrage, negativity and fear, emotional stability becomes more difficult to maintain. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means being selective. Choose information that educates. Choose information that encourages growth. Choose information that strengthens wisdom. Protect your attention carefully. Attention is one of your most valuable resources. Where attention goes, emotional energy often follows. Daily routines also benefit from structure. Structure reduces unnecessary decision-making. Without structure, many people spend large amounts of energy deciding what to do next. This constant decision-making creates mental fatigue. Simple routines reduce this burden. A planned morning, dedicated work periods, scheduled breaks, consistent evening habits. These structures create predictability. Predictability reduces stress because the mind knows what to expect. This does not mean every moment must be controlled. It means creating enough order to support emotional balance. Gratitude can also become a powerful daily habit. Many people train their minds to notice problems automatically. Challenges receive attention immediately. Mistakes become highly visible. Difficulties dominate awareness. Meanwhile, positive aspects of life often go unnoticed. Gratitude shifts attention. It encourages recognition of what is working. It highlights opportunities, relationships, strengths, and resources that already exist. A daily gratitude practice does not eliminate challenges. It broadens perspective. It prevents difficulties from becoming the only thing you see. Over time, this habit changes how the mind processes experiences. Another routine worth developing involves regular self-reflection. Many people move through life without examining their actions. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass. Experiences accumulate without thoughtful evaluation. Privation creates learning. At the end of each day, spend a few moments reviewing your experiences. What went well? What could be improved? What did you learn? Where did you act according to your values? Where can you grow? These questions transform ordinary experiences into valuable lessons. Growth accelerates when reflection becomes consistent. Healthy boundaries are another essential component of emotional stability. Many people feel emotionally exhausted because they allow too many demands to compete for their attention. They say yes when they should say no. They accept responsibilities that do not align with their priorities. They overextend themselves repeatedly. Eventually, stress accumulates, resentment grows, energy decreases. Healthy routines include boundaries. Boundaries protect time. Boundaries protect energy. Boundaries protect focus. They allow you to direct your resources toward what matters most. Learning to set boundaries respectfully is an important act of self-respect. Another helpful practice involves limiting unnecessary urgency. Many people treat every task as if it requires immediate attention. Everything feels important. Everything feels urgent. Everything demands action right now. This mindset creates constant pressure. A calmer approach involves prioritization. Not every issue deserves equal attention. Not every problem requires immediate action. Not every request must be handled instantly. Learning to distinguish between what is important and what is merely loud creates emotional breathing room. This skill supports long-term stability. Meaningful relationships also play an important role in emotional health. Human beings are influenced by the people around them. Supportive relationships encourage growth. Constructive conversations create perspective. Healthy connections reduce feelings of isolation. Daily routines should include time for meaningful interaction. A conversation with a trusted friend, time with family, moments of genuine connection. These experiences nourish emotional well-being. Emotional stability is strengthened when people feel connected rather than isolated. One often overlooked routine involves celebrating small wins. Many people move from one goal to another without acknowledging progress. Nothing feels sufficient. Nothing feels complete. The mind becomes focused exclusively on what remains unfinished. This pattern creates dissatisfaction. Recognizing progress creates motivation. Celebrate effort. Celebrate consistency. Celebrate growth. Even small improvements deserve acknowledgement. These moments reinforce positive habits and strengthen confidence. A stable emotional life is not built through perfection. Perfection is an unrealistic standard. No routine will eliminate every difficult emotion. No habit will remove every challenge. Life will continue presenting unexpected situations. Stress will still appear. Disappointment will still occur. uncertainty will still exist. The purpose of routines is not to create a perfect life. The purpose of routines is to create a stronger foundation from which to face life. A strong foundation changes everything. Challenges become easier to manage. Setbacks become easier to recover from. Pressure becomes easier to handle. Emotional balance becomes easier to maintain. Daily routines may appear simple. They often lack the excitement of dramatic change. Yet their power lies in consistency. Small actions repeated regularly produce remarkable results over time. One healthy choice may seem insignificant. One moment of reflection may seem insignificant. One act of gratitude may seem insignificant. One evening of proper rest may seem insignificant. Repeated consistently, these actions transform emotional well-being. The most emotionally stable individuals are not necessarily those with the easiest lives. They are often the ones who have created systems that support their mental and emotional health. They understand that emotional strength is not something to hope for. It is something to cultivate. It is something to protect. It is something to strengthen every day through deliberate choices. When daily routines align with emotional well-being, stability becomes more than an occasional experience. It becomes a way of living. And that way of living creates a foundation capable of supporting you through both the challenges and opportunities that life inevitably brings. Chapter 10. Commit to lasting emotional mastery and personal growth. Every meaningful journey eventually reaches a point where knowledge is no longer enough. Information has been gathered. Lessons have been learned. Insights have been understood. Yet one important question remains. Will these lessons become part of daily life? Many people spend years collecting advice. They read books, listen to experts, watch educational content, and fill notebooks with ideas. They know what they should do. They understand what creates growth. They recognize habits that improve life. Yet understanding alone does not create transformation. Transformation begins when knowledge becomes action. Listing emotional mastery is not a destination that suddenly appears one day. It is not a final achievement that permanently removes challenges, frustration, uncertainty, or disappointment. Emotional mastery is an ongoing commitment to self-development. It is the decision to continue growing even after progress has been made. It is the decision to continue learning even after confidence has increased. It is the decision to continue improving even after success has been achieved. Many people approach personal growth with the expectation that one day they will finally arrive at a place where life becomes simple. They imagine reaching a level of emotional strength where difficulties no longer affect them. Reality works differently. New challenges appear with each stage of life. New responsibilities emerge. New opportunities create new pressures. New experiences reveal new lessons. Growth never truly ends. The person committed to mastery understands this. Instead of seeking a finish line, they focus on continuous improvement. This mindset changes everything. When growth becomes a lifelong commitment, setbacks lose much of their power. Mistakes become teachers rather than enemies. Challenges become opportunities for development. Failures become sources of information. Every experience contributes to wisdom. This perspective creates resilience because it removes the expectation of perfection. Perfection is fragile. Growth is flexible. Perfection fears mistakes. Growth learns from them. Perfection demands flawless performance. Growth values consistent improvement. The pursuit of mastery requires honesty, not honesty directed toward others. Honesty directed toward yourself. Self-deception prevents growth because it hides the areas that need attention. A person who refuses to acknowledge weaknesses cannot improve them. A person who avoids difficult truths limits their own development. Honesty creates clarity. Clarity creates opportunity. Opportunity creates progress. This process requires courage because self-examination is not always comfortable. There will be moments when flaws become visible. There will be habits that require change. There will be patterns that no longer serve your future. Recognizing these realities is not a sign of failure. It is evidence of awareness. Awareness is the beginning of meaningful change. Another important aspect of emotional mastery is personal responsibility. Many people spend years waiting for circumstances to improve before taking ownership of their lives. They wait for better opportunities. They wait for ideal conditions. They wait for motivation. They wait for external validation. Unfortunately, waiting often delays growth. Personal responsibility creates momentum. It begins with a simple realization. Your future is influenced by the choices you make today. Your habits matter. Your actions matter. Your decisions matter. Every day presents opportunities to strengthen or weaken the person you are becoming. This realization is empowering because it shifts attention away from factors beyond your control. Instead of focusing on what others should do, focus on what you can do. Instead of focusing on what life has withheld, focus on what can be built. Instead of focusing on limitations, focus on possibilities. This shift creates energy, it creates purpose, it creates direction. One of the greatest challenges in personal growth is maintaining consistency after initial enthusiasm fades. At the beginning of any journey, motivation often feels strong. New goals create excitement. New insights create inspiration. New plans create optimism. Eventually, however, the excitement decreases. Routine replaces novelty. Progress becomes gradual. Results may take time. This is where commitment becomes essential. Commitment continues when motivation weakens. Commitment remains present when enthusiasm fluctuates. Commitment creates stability during periods when emotions change. A person who relies entirely on motivation often struggles with consistency. A person guided by commitment continues moving forward regardless of temporary feelings. This approach produces lasting results because it is sustainable. Emotional mastery also requires humility. Humility allows learning to continue. Without humility, growth eventually stops. People who believe they already know everything become resistant to improvement. They stop listening. They stop observing. They stop adapting. Humility keeps the mind open. It allows wisdom to enter. It encourages curiosity. It creates a willingness to learn from experiences, mentors, mistakes, and even criticism. The strongest individuals are often those who remain teachable throughout their lives. They understand that growth has no age limit. They understand that every experience contains potential lessons. They understand that wisdom expands through continued learning. Another valuable principle involves aligning actions with values. Many people experience internal conflict because their behavior does not reflect what they truly believe. They value health but neglect their well-being. They value honesty but avoid difficult conversations. They value growth but remain trapped in familiar habits. This disconnect creates dissatisfaction. Dalamajn creates peace. When actions support values, confidence increases, integrity strengthens, self-respect grows. Life begins to feel more meaningful because behavior reflects purpose. Identifying core values is therefore an important part of emotional mastery. Ask yourself simple questions. What kind of person do I want to become? What qualities matter most to me? What principles should guide my decisions? The answers create a foundation for future choices. Values provide direction during uncertainty. They act as a compass when circumstances become confusing. Another important lesson involves protecting progress without becoming complacent. Growth can create confidence. Confidence is valuable. However, Confidence should never become an excuse to stop improving. Every achievement creates an opportunity for continued development. Every success creates new responsibilities. Every breakthrough creates new possibilities. The commitment to growth remains active regardless of current circumstances. This mindset prevents stagnation. It encourages continued learning. It supports long-term fulfillment. Meaningful growth also requires patience with yourself. Many people become discouraged because they expect rapid transformation. They want immediate results. They want instant change. They want emotional mastery to develop quickly. Real growth unfolds gradually. Old habits require time to replace. New behaviors require repetition. Character develops through countless choices made over extended periods. Impatience often creates unnecessary frustration. Patience creates persistence. Persistence creates progress. Progress creates transformation. This process may move more slowly than expected, but slow growth is still growth. Every positive choice contributes to the future. Every healthy habit strengthens character. Every act of self-discipline reinforces emotional strength. The accumulation of these actions eventually creates remarkable change. Another important aspect of mastery involves surrounding yourself with influences that support growth. Environment matters, conversations matter, relationships matter. The people around you can strengthen your commitment or weaken it. Seek relationships that encourage responsibility. Seek friendships that support development. Seek communities that value growth. Positive influences create momentum because they reinforce the qualities you want to cultivate. This does not mean avoiding people who struggle. It means being intentional about what influences your mindset regularly. One often overlooked component of emotional mastery is gratitude for progress already made. Ambition encourages movement toward future goals. Gratitude encourages appreciation for current progress. Both are important. Without ambition, growth slows. Without gratitude, satisfaction disappears. Recognize how far you have come. Acknowledge lessons learned. Appreciate improvements made. Celebrate growth without becoming satisfied with mediocrity. This balance creates motivation while maintaining perspective. As emotional mastery develops, life begins to feel different. Challenges still appear. Difficult conversations still occur. Unexpected problems still arise. The difference is found in your response. You become less controlled by circumstances. You become more grounded in principles. You become more intentional with decisions. You become more confident in your ability to navigate uncertainty. This confidence is not arrogance, it is trust. Trust in your ability to adapt. Trust in your ability to learn. Trust in your ability to recover. Trust in your ability to continue moving forward regardless of obstacles. Over time, emotional mastery influences every area of life. Relationships improve because communication improves. Decisions improve because clarity improves. Opportunities increase because confidence improves. Inner peace grows because self-control improves. The benefits extend far beyond emotional well-being. They shape the quality of your entire life. Yet perhaps the greatest reward is freedom. Freedom from being controlled by every emotion. Freedom from being directed by every impulse. Freedom from being trapped by every setback. Freedom from living reactively. This freedom creates space for intentional living. It allows you to choose your direction. It allows you to build your future deliberately. It allows you to become the person you are capable of becoming. The journey does not end here. In many ways, it is only beginning. Every day presents new opportunities to practice what you have learned. Every interaction presents opportunities to strengthen character. Every challenge presents opportunities to deepen wisdom. The commitment to emotional mastery is not a temporary project. It is a lifelong practice, a daily decision, a continuous process, a personal responsibility. The person who embraces this commitment gains something more valuable than comfort. They gain self-respect, they gain inner strength, they gain clarity, they gain purpose. Most importantly, they gain ownership of their own life. And when a person truly owns their thoughts, choices, actions, and character, they possess a form of power that no external circumstance can easily take away. That power is the foundation of lasting emotional mastery. That power is the foundation of personal growth. And that power remains available every single day through the choices you make, the habits you build, and the person you continually choose to become.